now listening to Protecting Your Nest with board-certified family medicine and obesity medicine specialist Dr. Tony Hampton. For more, visit drtonyhampton.com. Welcome to the Protecting Your Nest podcast. As we continue our journey towards healing, it's important that we get some inspiration from those who are on a similar journey. Sometimes that inspiration comes from many of our previous guests who provide the scientific perspective from a lifestyle, perspective. And sometimes it comes from those receiving the benefits of that science. Today, we will take a trip to Colombia and meet Alia. And Alia and I met when I was invited to a live stream on the Keto Cookout with her other co-host, Russ Mitchell of the Homesick Buckeye YouTube channel, Adam of the Carnivore Today YouTube channel, and of course, Alia. And I really think it's worth a subscription to all of those channels because they are doing great work spreading the healing message of keto and carnivore. Those live streams are filled with a lot of laughter, but most importantly, the voices of people just like you, people who are using dietary changes to heal, people who are creating a community to support all of us on our journey. I am hoping to have all the co-hosts of the podcast, like I've had Russ already, and hopefully I'll get Adam very soon. Alia has a story of healing she's going to share today and a story of hope, and I hope it adds value to your life as we welcome Alia to the Protecting Your Nest podcast. Welcome, Alia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's awesome. First, I want to say I love that we're originally both from Chicago.
I know, right? I realized that recently. I'm like, oh my God, we got a Chicago girl on the podcast. And that's really cool. What part of town did you live on?
I lived on the north side. I lived predominantly growing up in Lakeview. It's like a mile away from Lincoln Park, basically.
Cool.
I didn't live in Lincoln Park.
You did? Okay, right. Well, for those who don't know, it's a little uppity over there. But and I actually went to Lane Tech High School, so I
have a story about that.
You do?
I do. So,
we should let's start with that story.
Okay, so my dad went to Lane Tech also.
Cool.
I think he's probably like 10 or 15 years older than you or more,
okay,
but
cool.
He went to Lane Tech. And the school I went to was called Burley School. It was like really close to Ashland, Lincoln, and Southport, that intersection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my dad, I think he wanted me to go to Lane Tech, and I'm like, I ain't going to Lane Tech because you went to Lane Tech. I should have.
Yeah. It's a great school, but I remember I came all the way from the west side of Chicago to go there.
Oh,
but
wow.
For me, it was like a little bit of a culture shock because where I, grew up was more, African American. Then you go to this completely different world, which tends to be a little bit more mixed, certainly Caucasian, Asian, etc. Not far from Wrigley Field for those who are checking this out, not familiar with Chicago, but it was at the time ranked the second best school in the city. I think Whitney Young may have been number one and Lindblom and some other places, but great place to, kind of diversify my perspective on people. And one of the things I'm blessed to be able to do is be comfortable with everybody because I've kind of gone from one extreme to the other, and it's been great. So it's nice to have that in common, And shout out to your dad. Tell him, hey,
I will.
Some alumni right here, So
I'll tell him, he'll be so happy. I got accepted into Whitney Young via a raffle for their science program, and the joke is I ended up doing homeschool.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's and for those who are checking this out, getting into Whitney Young even today is like literally winning a lottery. It's very difficult. Great school, but unfortunately highly in demand, and you almost have to win the lottery to get in there. So that's awesome.
I remember, I swear that was the story. It was Whitney Young, and it was a raffle. And there was a totally different school that I forgot the name of. I didn't want to go to any of those. I found a school in back of where the Bulls play their stadium. There's a school there. I forgot what the name. It's a little charter school, and I had to get my teacher to send me like a letter to the school why I should go there. And then, so I got accepted there, and there was only 400 kids in the whole high school. Apparently, around that. I'm trying to remember. This was in '98, so I'm trying to remember the Whitney Young story and all that.
That's right.
And I went to Lakeview. Lakeview High is the one you have to go to if you don't get accepted anywhere else because it's right there.
Okay.
But no, we went to that school and then we did a tour. I was so excited because there was a little amount of kids. You weren't going to get lost in the crowd of 2,000 teens, you know. And so 98, my dad and I go to this school, and I'm sure all the high schools were like this. We didn't tour any others. And it said, drop your weapons in the box, and you walk through a metal detector. And we did the school. My dad's like, you're not going to high school.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
And when you think about size, just for perspective, when I graduated from Lane Tech, it had to be at least 1,500 or 1,600 kids at graduation. Right. So it's just this, and I believe smaller is better. My kids went to Providence St. Mel's, smaller school on the west side. I think it's, it's not the only way to do it, but if you're looking for somebody to cuddle you and make you accountable at the same time, that's the way to go. So appreciate that intro, and you are a lot of fun to watch on your YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you.
And because you have positive energy, I love that. But let's share briefly with the audience your day job, your family dynamics, maybe even your favorite hobby.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my favorite hobby, we'll start with that, is YouTube.
Yeah. Duh.
My happy place is talking to people. I love just meeting people and talking to people. It's very funny because YouTube is hard for me because if I just sit and talk to a camera, I get very introverted. But if I'm sitting here talking to you, I love it. And it's my happy place, really, just to meet people, and especially because we all have the same goals and purposes. So that is very fun for me. And even though I've had a lot of success in the last 7 months eating low carb, the best part of this whole journey is meeting everybody.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that explains also why you do a lot of live streams.
Yes. Yeah. More than I need to get back into, because people do want to hear my success stories, and today's month 7. So I will confront that camera today.
That's right. That's right
here.
Oh, you're good. Good. Do your thing. Yeah. I'm actually trying to do the same, and, spending more time doing video shorts and stuff. I'm busy, and you're busy because you have, I think, 2 beautiful kids, right?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so back to the family dynamic. So I met my husband in 2015, and I was 32, 33-ish. I'm 40 now. I can't do math. Math was something I definitely failed out of in school.
Fair.
And then, really rapidly, we actually wanted to start a family.
Yeah.
So, cool. Shortly after meeting him, I actually got pregnant. So it seemed like the right thing, because I wasn't really big. I was in my mind wanting children, but it wasn't really like aligned with what I was doing at the moment, or in my mind it wasn't. Do you get what I'm saying? We have all these reasons why not to.
That's right.
But it kind of clicked. Like he didn't really want kids either. Like it wasn't a big thing for him, and we just met each other. Hey, do you want to have a family?
That's right. Hey, why not? Let's do this. That's right. So, check that box.
Yeah, exactly. So Jacob was born in 2016. We met in 2015, and Jacob was born August 2016. And then I was like, well, I want one boy and one girl in that sequence, and before I'm 35. So I got pregnant 11 months when Jacob was 11 or 12 months. Okay. They're less than 2 years apart.
Wow. Well, we have a similar story, and you probably already know what a gift. It's hard in the beginning, but man, they can entertain each other. And,
oh yeah.
Oh my God, it's a gift. So for those people out there contemplating having a family, consider having them close together. It was a gift. So now Columbia, you guys are in Columbia. How did that happen?
My husband's Columbian.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do it. So I met him in Columbia, and that's the even funnier thing. Like, I didn't come here looking for a husband. It just happened to happen that way.
Yeah.
And so I was pregnant, and we were getting his visa, and I wanted Jacob to. In my mind, it would be better if Jacob was born in the U.S. I thought it would be easier, and there was the Zika virus thing happening at that time. Blah blah blah, and I was so scared about that, being pregnant for the first time, etc. So I went home, and while we were dealing with his visa, and it took me like 8 months to get him in the U.S. And actually, Jacob was 3 months old, and I had Jacob with my parents and not even with my husband. And so it took 8 months. And we went to the embassy usually these things might be difficult, but it wasn't because I had Jacob, and the lady at the embassy was like, "Is that your son?" And he said yes, and she said approved. And so then we went back to the U.S.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah, there was no other questions. Usually there are these long interviews.
Right.
So at least we had a really nice lady at the embassy in Bogota. And then we went back to the U.S. for approximately a year, just under a year. He came right at Christmas, so he got to experience the cold and snow for the first time. It ended up being really stressful at that whole year. There was a lot of stress involved, and I was missing Colombia. And so I just started talking about it, and then we agreed, let's go back. And it was funny because sometimes you do things that are very stupid. We basically had a few job ideas lined up. It didn't really work out. And then we were broke for a while. And
yes. Didn't plan that one well.
And I'm pregnant with baby number 2. So, we sorted everything out, and we both work for a company, and we do real estate research, and that's been working out great. So I've been doing it for 6 years. He recently did all the training. He's been doing that now, and it's great. It's perfect for us here.
Yes, my previous life was a real estate broker.
Wow!
While I was a doctor, I worked with investors, and it really was. I loved real estate, and my wife was like, "Are you gonna be a real estate guy or a doctor?" Which and she pushed me back towards the one that has a reliable income.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, in my field, I always have work because I'm just doing the title research. There's always work in title research.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's 24/7.
Even in COVID, so the foreclosures stopped, but the interest rate went to 0. So I always had work. I was blessed.
Always at work. I'm glad that worked out. And there's so many different aspects of it. So let's have a little fun because my favorite, one of my favorite documentaries ever was Narcos, right? Which was filmed in Colombia, right? So I'm like, okay. So my stereotype of Colombia is, having those guerrillas and paramilitaries everywhere. And ain't nowhere in the world I'm coming to visit you in Colombia. So that's my stereotype. So I want to hear from you. Is that a real stereotype, or should I relax?
I mean, I even asked my husband about this morning because it's not my experience at all. I'm like, so what's up with Narcos? He's like, well, that took place in the 80s.
Right.
So Colombia was a different universe in the 80s, apparently. I have heard it was very dangerous. My husband was born in the 80s. Okay. No, I heard it was very dangerous. But now, so I've lived in Bogota, which is the capital of the country. And that's the most dangerous city, apparently, like New York. Or Chicago.
Right.
Yeah, or Chicago.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm from Chicago. People are like, I also lived in Cali, and I'm like, I'm from Chicago.
Right. It's all relative. You know where to be, and and just common sense. So it's that type of situation. That's fair. I feel better. I was so worried about you.
Oh, thank you. But where I live is right now is a city called Pereira, and it's the capital of the coffee region, not the capital of the country. And the coffee region is known for being the nicest of the nicest. So Colombians are like the nicest people. It's very funny because if you talk to people here, they're like, people in Bogota are so mean. But if you talk to people from like any suburb or countryside in the U.S., they're gonna be like, people in New York are so mean.
That's
so
funny.
I understand that, but I go to Bogota, I'm like, these people are so nice.
Yeah,
everywhere. But here in the city that I live in, they're like the nicest of nice. And if you go a little bit north, there's another city called Manizales. I've never experienced so extremely nice people. Like I was sitting next to a lady at not even a restaurant, in a mall, and she was eating ribs, and she's like, "Would you like to try my ribs?"
What? Wow.
Next level hospitality. And I'm like, oh no, thank you so much. I'm ordering my food.
That's funny. My wife's from Mississippi in the United States, and it's much nicer there, but I don't think it's that nice where people will offer their food. They'll offer to give you a plate, but they certainly won't go to their plate. So impressive.
At our mall, at a shopping mall.
Right. I mean, that's insane. Right. That's not like at a friend's house. Let's talk about food, because is the food there? That's another stereotype I would have in my brain. I'm thinking Latin America. I'm thinking like what I'm used to, which is tacos, burritos, and spicy foods. Is it like that there? Or is it different?
No, it's totally different. I had that stereotype too, and was highly disappointed when I found that they don't like any spicy food.
Oh, Lord.
So you ask for something spicy, and sometimes like your salsa, whatever, it's not, they don't even have salsa here, but if you ask for something spicy, sometimes it'll come back sweet.
That's insane.
There is one place that will have, it's called ahi. It's like salsa, and it's okay. It's okay. But since I was pregnant, I haven't really dabbled so much in spicy food because it gave me, and that was many years ago. But I used to eat, like, if it was like 1 to 10 spicy, I would try to do close to 10 as possible.
Oh, okay, cool.
But no, it's very bland here. They don't like spicy food. My husband does because he lived in Mexico for 5 years or so. Sure. So he likes it, but no, it's not something here.
Nice. Yeah. No. I've always had a sensitive stomach, so kind of, I like it, but my body doesn't like it. So let's go to the when I first heard Russ talk about we grilling, baby, I was like, this guy is nuts. What is he talking about? So when it comes to that whole concept of the Keto Cookout, right? How did you get involved with that in the first place?
So it probably has to do with Adam. So Adam saw me one night on Carrie's channel doing some fundraising, and I surprised Carrie even. I think this was the night that he saw me, I believe it was this night. And I was helping fundraise, and we made like $400 for his documentary just in the chat in a couple hours. Wow. And then I said, I would love to help you with fundraising. I did it, like, I used to do some fundraising for like nonprofits. And if I have a passion for something, it comes easy to me. If I don't have a passion for it, I can't ask for money. Right. So I think Adam saw that, and then he sent me an email saying, I see that you're helping Carrie with the documentary. Would you like to, I think, do some stuff with us? And I'm like, sure. And then I found out it was a weekly thing that I agreed to.
What were you thinking, right? That's what happened when I started doing couch conversations with a doctor. They invited me as a guest. Yeah. Then they said, why don't you come back? But then I was like, every Monday night, like, that's going to be tough. You have kids. I have a wife, and my kids are older, but it is a commitment. Although, as you have suggested, when it's aligned with your purpose, it's a lot easier. So I just wanted to get a sense of that. Let's talk about why people come to this podcast in the first place. It's about, you make dietary changes and you solve problems. Talk about some of the dietary things that you did and what problems did it solve.
Like bad dieting ideas, or right now on low carb?
Yeah, kind of low carb. Okay. Then what did it fix? What part of your body did it fix?
Okay, so I came because I was fed up with my weight. I was between my fattest weight. So I'm 5'4", and my fattest weight from many years ago was, I keep thinking it was 225, 224, maybe 220. I was very round and unhappy. Funny, I think that the unhappiness has to do more with the mental state because of the food that you're eating than the size of your body. I've come to realize that. So in my life, I resided around, if I lost weight, 125, 127, 135. But my set point was like 150, 155. So I wasn't fat, but I wasn't skinny, if that makes sense. I'm probably just an average looking woman. Had kids, had Jacob, gained 80 pounds.
Oh, Lord.
And then destroyed my thyroid somewhere in that process. I think it was I had a very rough labor. I never went into labor, tried all these procedures, ended an emergency C-section, sick afterwards, hospitalized. I think all that stuff resulted in damaging my thyroid because I heard the thyroid is very, it doesn't deal with trauma very well.
That's correct. I agree with that.
So then after I had Jacob, the weight just kept boop, 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 creeping up. Even though I was like somewhat nursing. With him, I was nursing. I did more so with my daughter because I was working from home then. And it was the stress of being in Chicago, and that whole year was stressful. So the cortisol being high, thyroid damaged, everything, I just got very big.
Okay.
Moved to Columbia, got pregnant, lost weight, I think 20 or 40 pounds. Having a hard time eating. The doctors were so happy that I was losing weight in the pregnancy.
But it was because you were nauseated?
I was nauseated, but more than nausea. I think I barfed once, but more than nauseated, I remember a lot of acid reflux and feeling like so much pressure and weird stuff.
Yeah, because it's pressing on your stomach.
Yeah, and her head, later in the pregnancy, her head was up here. So I had 2 C-sections in under 2 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was crazy. So Anyway, so I lost weight with her, and then I got down to probably where I'm at right now, around here. And then I stopped nursing. So we nursed for a while, and I changed how I was eating. I kept trying to do keto, trying to eat lots of vegetables, and I was eating less red meat and no bacon because I was scared of what the bacon would do to my stomach because I'd eaten it. I'd eaten some pork here and felt bad.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to explain the whole story of how I got to now finally starting 215, 210, around 209. Right. The day that I started 7 months ago is 209.8. But now I'm going through 6 years of trying to lose weight, my heaviest. Mentally, I'm very stressed about losing weight. I'm very stressed about how I look. But again, I think that's more the toxins that are poisoning. Like if you don't feel good because of what you're eating, it's not how I look is not the problem, because now, right now I'm 178, 179. I could still lose another 20 to 40 pounds. But I don't worry about it anymore. The stress is gone. So I think there's a whole mental aspect when you're eating sugar and carbohydrates that it makes you crazy. Actually,
it's a roller coaster. You're up and down, and you're hungry, and angry. So
and you don't want to do anything. You become such a couch potato.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's terrible when you got 2 small kids. So I had been studying Dr. Berry for a while, and then listening to Anthony Chafee also. But I love Anthony Chafee. I love all of his stuff. He's so smart. I've learned so much stuff. But if I would have found him first and heard of his crazy carnivore diet, meat, salt, water, I would have never done it. It's too extreme.
Too extreme.
So I'm glad that I found first Ken Berry and listened to all of his stuff on how to do the carnivore diet. Good, I can still have my coffee, even though people say yay or nay. Good, I can have some cheese, etc. And it just became a lot easier.
What about Ketovore? Because
I tried that. Okay,
and what's the issue with that?
Started it before Christmas.
Lord.
Then oh man, cheese. I could just so binge cheese so easily. And then Christmas came. Columbia, Christmas is all about the booze and dancing. And I boozed it up. I junk fooded it up. And then, or maybe that was New Year's, not Christmas. And fell off the wagon for another couple months. And I'm like, okay, I have to be so strict. I have to give myself so many barriers. And I wasn't thinking that, but thinking back now, I was like, okay, this is going to work. I know carnivore is going to work. I got to try it now. I've been listening to YouTubers. They've been having success. I've been listening to Dr. Berry maybe months now. I'm doing it. And so I just did it. March 1st. I don't know why I didn't start earlier than March 1st, but I set that as my date.
That's fair. Sometimes that's a good way to kind of prepare your mind, your spirit, your soul, and do it that way. And I do find that everybody in my clinical practice doesn't have to go to the extreme of carnivore, but I do have some people who have sugar addictions, have processed food addictions, or just simply get triggered easily. And for those people, it may be the best approach. And I think for anybody checking us out, it's an experiment. You clean up your diet, get as close to carnivore as possible if that's your desire. And then if you are triggered easily because somebody, has sweet potato pie on the counter that shouldn't be there, and you can't say no. Or like, in my house for Halloween, which is coming up, my wife is like, well, we have the Snickers bars and things for the kids, but my brain, if I see the Snickers bars, it's very tempting. So if you're that person, then you may want to clean it up and make your house a safe space. But if you're a person who can not get triggered, more importantly, if you eat plants and it doesn't bother you, then you may be a person who will land at ketovore or keto. So I think you have to be honest with yourself. We always tell people make your diet as clean as possible so that we're okay with the keto products, but we prefer like a Maria Emmerich who shows us how to make like a clean bread that doesn't have all of those things that you'll find in the store. So, and then be comfortable transitioning. So when you're trying to make these changes, it's okay to buy the keto low carb breads and things like that, but as close to clean you can get where you're making your own food, preparing your own food, that's always better. So appreciate you kind of being honest with your body and with your journey, because it's not really about aligning with a particular influencer.
Right.
It's aligning with what's best for you. Now, as a person who's benefited from making these dietary changes, again, you're a mom of two. I'm curious how your dietary changes have impacted how you interact, because you suggested earlier, if you're a parent, you got to be stable. You can't be up and down.
Yeah.
So what's changed about your parenting and also the relationship you have with your husband since you've made these changes?
That's a great question. Thank you. So first I was saying, like, being overweight. Also, I had lots of gut issues. Trying to do keto, I'd eaten more vegetables in my entire life. And I think that had a worse effect on me than going to Wendy's and McDonald's, honestly.
I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
Wendy's
Seriously.
and McDonald's, super fat, very fast, maybe emotionally not so stable, but the gut issues from, because I got rid of the vegetables in a week, the gut issues were gone. On and off diarrhea for years. And I know people have this a lot worse than me. So I'm going to say maybe once a month, watery poop. Sometimes my last vacation last year was all diarrhea, but it was like flaming diarrhea. It was so bad. It was just, I think, orange liquid. And maybe I was sick. Hello.
Don't listen to the podcast while you're eating.
Yeah, exactly. But I went through this for years, or pain or stomach cramping. I remember I would have to email, I can't work right now. I need to go lie down. Like, things like this was happening for years. And so within a week of being maybe 2 weeks at most of being on this way of eating, gone. No, all the stomach gut issues that I've been experiencing for years were gone. Sure, I totally cleaned up my diet. No more fast food, or I love cheesecakes. No more lattes. So all of it went away, but I really think that the vegetables have a huge impact on my system.
No doubt.
And I don't know if I don't really know the genealogy so much of my mom's side of the family, but my great grandmother on my dad's side of the family was an American Indian. I don't look like that at all. My mom is very, very pale. But so I don't look like that at all. But I wonder, because the American Indians predominantly ate buffalo, and I thrive on cows. I thrive eating meat, red meat. So all right. So imagine me for years. I'm up and down on my hormones. I'm not going to say I was depressed, but I was very anxious. I don't even want to say I had anxiety, but anxious. Do you get like worried about so many things that unnecessarily need to? So I'm worried about things. I'm worried about things my kids might do, might hurt themselves. One time my daughter got into the window at the 4th floor, and I almost had a heart attack. So then for months, maybe even a year, I was having nightmares of her falling out of the 4th floor window. So, but things like this, or, oh my God, what if this happens? What if this happens? So first you have the worry about your kids. Then you're so exhausted because you're eating garbage or eating clean garbage that your body can't deal with. And you just I go right from this office or right from an office. Let's go watch Netflix. Let's go watch Disney Plus. Let's watch something else. So my time with my kids would be watching TV. And if they would ask to do something, I would prefer not to, because, but not that I didn't want to do other things. So we'll say, or very little other things with minimal effort. Oh, they want to go to the pool. The pool is literally like, go down the elevator, go 12 feet, 20 feet, and you're at the pool. Oh man, but I have to put their swimsuit on, and how much effort to get them to put the sunblock on. Like, these are the things that I think as a parent, you're exhausted with even thinking about. So also within a week, one day I get off of work, the week after eating low carb, basically carnivore. I don't like labels because maybe someone's not going to like that I drink coffee or have some stevia. So we'll just say low carb at the moment. I felt so much better. I was like, oh my God, let's go to the park. Get their shoes on. Let's go to the park. They're literally just go down the elevator and go. We don't even leave the condo that we live in. It's right there. Let's go play. So that was a big difference. And I'm so happy because I want to spend moments with my kids, these moments that they're going to remember. And yes, now they're going to remember not mom just being miserable on the couch.
That's right.
I don't know if they perceive that, but
they will perceive it. They'll get to the point where they would just go to dad. They don't even ask mom anymore because
and if I think about it, they would.
That's often. Right. And we don't want them to have that memory.
Yeah, exactly. So now, and they have a lot of toys, but we like to create memories with them because they don't play with their toys.
That's right.
No, I just, within a week, maybe 7 days, maybe even a couple of days, maybe just a couple of days into it. Let's go to the park. Let's go to the pool. Let's go out. So
Spontaneous.
Yeah. And they still want me to sit down and watch movies with them, but that's not what I'm preferably pushing with them. Or was it yesterday or the day before? They wanted to do something, and I said, I got 1 hour before I'm doing a live stream, a video call, and I brought the Legos to the kitchen table. Let's play with the Legos. So we played with the Legos for an hour, and I'm sitting down and doing that stuff, and it's just a big difference because it's so much more important. Maybe as a parent, that's very important to spend those moments with your kids. That, you know, that's how you express your love more than just the hugs and the kisses and the I love yous, is the time, the quality time, which for sure I attempted to do those things, but uncomfortably, or I'm going to lie down on the couch. You guys do what you want.
That's right. Right. And that's not the way to do it. And you're doing it in the context of doing something you weren't doing before, which is you have a YouTube channel. And you're adding that and you're still not too tired. And one thing I want to say,
a really good point.
Yeah, seriously, you're doing way more. And I'll tell you, because I have a ton to do after we finish recording, but I have the bandwidth. So when we're going to do a live stream after this.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and for those who are checking us out, make sure you check out the live stream. Go to Alia's channel and check out the live stream that we are doing together and subscribe to her channel. Now, one thing I want to say out loud, because we both had belly issues, is this, we're taught, if you go see most conventionally trained gastroenterologists, they'll tell you, got to have more fiber, got to eat more plants. And I'm saying, based on our experience, it's the opposite.
Right.
I could not tolerate a lot of plants. And that's when my stomach flared up. I became gassy, abdominal pain, cramping, bloating. And the fiber absolutely was a disaster. So, and that's why I made a video why we really don't need fiber. So for those who enjoy fiber, have at it. If you enjoy gas, have at it. But that's not my thing. So,
can I bring up something here?
Please do.
Also, starting carnivore, and even once in a while, I do take hydrochloric acid, and that the genesis of hydrochloric acid, I believe, in our family has to do, I believe, more with my daughter, who for years, or maybe it's felt like years, when she was younger, had constipation issues, and we would take her to the emergency room. I think it would be like sometimes 2-3 weeks she wouldn't go, but she was having pain.
Okay.
Or she wasn't eating the right foods. She was eating, rice, beans, some animal proteins, eggs. But here is a lot of rice and beans, and they have a thing called an arepa, which is like a thick tortilla. So we were watching, years of this was, I feel like years, medicine that would just give her the runs full time. So now she's potty trained, and we still have to keep her in diapers because she's having diarrhea. And if she's not on the medicine, then she's constipated. And this is before we thought we knew about nutrition, but we had no clue. So one doctor wanted to actually do a surgery on her colon at 2 years old. And so my husband was like, no, not happening. So he researched Dr. Berg, and that's where we came up with hydrochloric acid. So we always have that in the house. And imagine teaching a 2-year-old how to swallow a pill.
Yeah, I don't even want to know.
Because you can't chew hydrochloric acid and burn your mouth.
That's right. So
we got her to do that, and it was like night and day difference. So the reason I bring that up is crazy, bad advice for years. And I appreciate doctors. I appreciate people I appreciate you more. But I know that everybody, you're welcome. I know that everybody comes in it with they want to help, but then they're educated so wrong.
And they don't know.
They don't know. So, but the operation on a 2-year-old's colon, no way.
That's not a good idea if you can avoid that. And for those who are, they may say, well, I can't eat all that meat because my body won't be able to tolerate it. And some of that is because of what you're saying. Maybe your body naturally doesn't make enough acid and the hydrochloric acid for some temporarily. It's like your body will adapt to anything, and it adapted to you not eating meat. So maybe you don't make as much acid. You don't need as much. Well, if you add that, and you can order that on Amazon, and you do it temporarily. And I know Dr. Berg talks about that a ton.
Yeah.
And if you haven't heard that conversation, just search Dr. Berg, hydrochloric acid, and he'll give you some great videos. But I'm going to tell you, most of us tolerate what, the proper human diet is. You just
Right.
have to ease into it and allow
Mm-hmm.
your body to say, oh, I'm now being fed what I should be. Let me make more acid. Oh, thank you for helping me out by giving me this supplement.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad your daughter was given that gift of a
Oh,
dietary supplement and a different diet than surgery. I think that's much
yeah. I mean, we
better.
didn't change her diet until I went on to carnivore years later, but the
Yep. Yep.
hydrochloric acid at least kept her pooping.
Got to keep pooping. I love pooping. So now,
Yeah, that
just
was,
not the
yes.
way you described earlier, but pooping's good.
Yeah, pooping's good when it's normal.
That's right.
Oh, and I just want to add, eating tons of vegetables, I would see that in the toilet. Eating meat, it's just normal.
The hydrochloric acid completely gets rid of it, and it's
Yeah,
all utilized. They
yeah,
have all this extra fiber and stuff to get rid of. And I know that there's everybody in the house is not carnivore per se, if I
it's
understand it.
fine.
So
Yeah.
how are you managing having to manage your diet, which is carnivore, versus the other family members?
So it's really easy because my husband has supported me so much. So first, we don't have any garbage in the house. If the kids want something, we walk like 3 to 4 blocks to the nearest store and they can get
Yep.
something at the store.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
how it is. Or yesterday, what did we eat? They wanted, so funny. We went to a really nice restaurant that I love here and they wanted KFC. We do have KFC here
Mm-hmm.
in another place. And it was like half an hour wait for the KFC. We're like, no way, let's just go to the
Wow.
restaurant. I know. There was a huge line, huge wait. People love their fried chicken
It's
here.
like that when I've been to other places, I see that like some of the islands that have a KFC, it's like this big deal. It's crazy.
It's a big deal. It actually tastes better here though than it does in Chicago. Okay, so we went to the restaurant. They're like, okay, we'll have pasta and chicken, but it was only chicken breast. They didn't really like it. So because they've been eating carnivore-ish,
Right.
carnivore adjacent for so much
That's
time.
right.
Usually when we go to that restaurant, sometimes they want steak. My son will eat the steak easier than how he was eating the food last night. And then they were hungry later because they didn't eat all their food. And it's carbohydrates with chicken breast, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just funny. So basically in the house, we have almost only carnivore foods. We have rice. I don't like rice, so it's not tempting to me. They sometimes want rice, and then we waste it. They eat some.
Right.
We make so much, we waste it. We always have fruit in the house for them, and they can eat it whenever they want, bananas, apples, some other stuff sometimes. But they like eggs. They love eggs. They love pork belly. I always bring up pork belly because it's just easier to find than good bacon.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right. That's fair.
And we always have meat. We always,
Okay.
well, right, our fridge is pretty empty right now, so I can't say always, but we need to order our food.
That's cool.
But they like meat. It's just been easy because they happen to like those foods.
That's fair.
If we get bacon, if we do buy bacon, it's just easy. Anyone who doesn't like bacon, like bacon? So
that's right.
It's really easy. It's just the junk food isn't in the house. Sometimes we have dairy, and that will be my cheat.
That's fair. And they have a lot of cool things that you can have available for the kids. If they're really hungry, they'll eat anything, but just making sure it's kind of a animal or a low carb friendly option that's available. That's what they'll eat.
Yeah, exactly. I even made a pizza with ground up pork belly as the crust. Yes. Cheese, not even tomato sauce, cheese, bacon, and pepperonis, and it's perfect.
It's delicious.
It was delicious.
And it tastes better than using batter.
Yes.
And batter is flour. It's not real food. So you're feeding them real food. And I love that. So just continue to, Maria Emmerich does a lot of experimentation because she's trying to keep the kids interested. For me, just give me some meat, ribeye, and I'm happy. But for the babies, you may want to do more. Now, and one thing I want to say as advice, because you said the refrigerator was empty. One thing that's really important that we do now, we save money because we don't waste. So we literally, in fact, I have to go shopping today because we don't go shopping until all the meat's gone.
Oh, good.
And because we used to have meat from like a year ago in the back of the freezer, and those days never happen. We eat everything until it's gone, and I think that's a better model. And because of air fryers and other things, it's pretty quick to cook food. Yeah. And I think that's some good advice for anybody who's trying to be budget conscious,
right?
And also just a good habit to teach. Now, I can't deal with most. Now I can tolerate, and this is getting more into like ketovore, but I tolerate monk fruit if I need something sweet.
Okay.
I'm not in love with stevia, but that's something my patients are educated about. And I haven't really done much with allulose. I know Maria Emmerich uses that. So my question is, how do you deal with, do you tolerate alternative sweeteners, and how do you guys deal with that issue?
So what we found here that isn't like maltodextrin or dextrose is like a stevia erythritol thing. That's what the ingredients say. I hope that's all that's in there.
Right.
And
Yep.
I do have that sometimes. If I have a sweet tooth, I prefer to like dump a little bit of that on some butter and eat that versus going finding something bad. I tried to take it out for a while, and sometimes it comes back in. I don't know if it affects me. I'm not sure if it affects me because I haven't taken it out long enough. When I first started carnivore, I think it was there. It was there. I had it in my coffee. Now I happen to just like coffee with maybe a little bit of cinnamon or nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a little orange flavor from McCormick, a little bottle of orange flavor, and I'll put that in my coffee.
That's right.
So I do tell people I do carnivore because I don't know how else to explain how I eat. Even if maybe I'm not saltwater meat, but
right. Yeah, you're not a lion. Close. But that's important because people would, they would kick me out of the carnivore club because I may use monk fruit periodically. Like, you're going to kick me out of the club.
Yeah, exactly.
Really. So it's really a ridiculous thing to think. But I do think that, again, what do you tolerate? As a doctor, that's what I care about.
Right.
And if you tolerate something, then it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I think I tolerate that.
I can't tolerate erythritol. Like, I couldn't do that. It has to be pure stevia.
Oh, if I do too much, it might
It'll get you. Yeah.
Issues, but I don't do too much. And in Colombia, it's very common for kids to drink coffee. So
wow, really?
Yeah, it's usually coffee with milk, but we don't. They like coffee. The other thing is coffee with lemon and stevia. So it tastes like lemonade with coffee. It's very good, actually. And they had that this morning for breakfast.
That is insane. That is such a big cultural shift. In America, it's Benadryl because you're trying to put them to sleep. But I didn't say that out loud, did I? Okay. Yes. Let me ask you this.
We're so tired because all we eat is McDonald's.
Well, right.
To sleep.
Right. Yes, that's very, very cool. What do you miss the most? Are there any carbs you miss the most since you've been doing this?
I don't think I miss any carbs. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, look at that cheesecake. The memory of the cheesecake looks nice, as one of my friends says. You have the memory of the food, but I remember how bad I'll feel afterwards, so I can't miss it. I can't miss it. That's fair. Oh, all pickles. Right. I think and the only pickles here have a bunch of sugar in them. So
they don't do it right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. If I find some good pickles, I'm not holding back. I'm going to eat some pickles, like pickles and olives. And I don't think that those have an adverse reaction in my body. I will say I tried chives recently, and I did that for a couple days, and I felt terrible.
Right. Yeah. Who knew, right?
Who knew?
You just won't really know. And then what you know and I know is that when you do these dietary changes, you notice things more. When you clean up your diet, your body's like, hey, you've been away from that. What are you doing? So it'll let you know in a very strong way. So that's cool. What about, let's go back real quick to, you mentioned you did your weight loss thing and you've had some other benefits, but I've heard you say that you may have had endometriosis. You're not
sure. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, but I want to talk about that. Yeah, right. Yes.
Only because growing up, so I remember my first terrible menstrual cycle when I was 13, and I feel like I must have been ghost white. I was like shaking. I'm at church actually, and my friend's like, "You got to go home. You got to go home right now. You don't look good." And I didn't. It's not that me and my mom didn't talk. Because we did, and we love each other. But I thought that I just didn't tell anybody what I was going through for some reason. For some reason, I was keeping this all to myself when I was running into it. Later in life, I started asking for help. But I just remember this being terrible. Going home, it was like my whole body was like negatively vibrating. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Later in life, I would start getting these headaches, and I don't know if it was a migraine. It would start here, and it would go up here. And then I knew 3 days later, I was going to get the stabbing pain in my groin that was stabbing like a knife. So, and sometimes it would be in other places. And a few times I was on the pill and that helped. It helped. And so I was like, oh, wow, the pill helps. Wow, I'm not in so much pain. But I'm so young and so dumb and not really caring, oh, this says I'll get a stroke and you shouldn't do it if you're a smoker. Oh, that's not going to happen to me.
That's right.
You're so dumb. I was dumb because now I'm like, I should have never smoked and I should have never been on the pill. So this went on for many, many years. I had kids. When my period came back the first time after Jacob, I got pregnant a month later, but I didn't experience anything really bad. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because for 20 years or so, maybe not every cycle, but I was almost every cycle incapacitated. I didn't know that if you're working and you have to lie down on the floor, like almost in the fetal position with a fan, with like a heater and a heating pad and Tylenol, and just hopefully this will go away in a few hours. I didn't know that wasn't normal. And that's really why I didn't, when I would ask for help, people would be like, oh, try this, try this. One thing that did help was evening primrose oil. If I remembered to take it like every single day, that was a game changer for me. But again, I was dumb and like a kid. Even though I was in my 20s, you're still like a kid. You're not that smart.
That's right. Well, it's so much you don't know.
There's so much you don't know. And so I feel like I had this what is it called? Endometriosis, this disease. Is it called a disease? This autoimmune issue for years. Yeah. I really believed that. And I only found out about it, that it was called that, because I thought it was normal. Right. That women experience this. I just felt like my entire life, I was incapable of dealing with pain. That's also why, because I would ask somebody else, oh yeah, I have cramps. And if you even say it in that vein, right, they're like, oh, they have cramps. Right. And it must be something, I knew like something was wrong with me, but I was taking it from the wrong angle. Right. Right. That's right. I can't deal with pain. Not that this pain is not normal.
That's right. Well, you normalize it. Yeah. I thought my irritable bowel was going to be for the rest of my life. So I normalized it. Right. And people normalize a lot of stuff. They normalize, well, everybody in my family gets diabetes, so I'm going to get diabetes. Everybody in my family has a weight issue, so I'm going to have a weight issue. So we have to be careful not to normalize it. And for those who are new to endometriosis, it's just a disease where tissue that's similar to the tissue in the lining of your uterus grows outside the uterus. And it's a very difficult thing to live with because my patients who have it complain of, lower abdominal pain, sometimes pelvic pain, rectal pain, vaginal pain.
Yeah, all of that.
That's crazy.
It's like all of those things. I didn't want to say those words and gross people out, but imagine like a rusty knife stabbing you repeatedly in all of those places for hours. And I like the description of like negative vibration in your body, like you don't know what to do.
Right. Well, it's also it because it's in that part of the body, it's not necessarily good for sexual intercourse as well.
Oh,
keeping it real.
Definitely not during that time of month. Get the away from me.
Right, exactly. Seriously. And that's not good for the relationship. Yeah. So, and it can affect your menstrual cycles.
Yeah. Oh, and your hormones are crazy also. So I didn't actually have my period for 2 years after I had my daughter because I was nursing, I guess. And I forced it back one day because I felt a little nutty not having a menstrual cycle. So I knew that I was hoping that it wouldn't come back like how it was before I had kids. But I needed my hormones to be normal because you feel if you without your hormones, I was just crying all the time. Again, I don't think I was depressed. I think this is like a hormonal issue. Like things would make you cry or you'd be off.
Yeah, your hormones are just off, which is going to make your emotions off. It's because our emotions have a lot to do with our hormones. So.
Exactly. So I went into one of my mommy groups on Facebook and they said, try this thing called seed cycling and oil cycling. And it was like fish oil, evening primrose oil, and some seeds. And I did that and magically my period came back after 2 years.
That's crazy.
Then it came back and I'm like,
yeah,
I feel calm again.
That's right. That's right.
Now I feel another level of calm eating this way because now I think my hormones are finally normal. Okay, so back to the endometriosis thing really quick. 3 weeks into my carnivore experience, I think 21 days, my period showed up. It was a couple days early and I had zero pain, like no pain, none, zero. I had some random cramping the week before and I didn't think it was connected, but now it seems to be happening every month. I'm getting random cramping, intense for an hour. It's just so weird. But I'd rather deal with that than what I dealt with for so many years.
That's right.
During the cycle, it's maybe a little pain, very little. But that first time it was like no pain. I'm like, what is going on? we're not supposed to feel pain.
Right.
Like it was
That's
like this huge epiphany, like, oh my God, it's been the French fries, it's been the seed oils, it's been this garbage. I can't really blame vegetables for it because I hadn't been eating vegetables like I was my whole life. My life was seed oils. I was addicted to French fries as a kid. Hot dogs. I'm from Chicago. Maybe the hot dog wasn't bad. It was probably the bread.
Yeah, it's probably the bread. Yep.
You know, the French fries and the junk food that I was so used to eating that's normal. Probably cigarette smoking didn't help, even though I thought it helped.
Right.
Oh, can I just say one thing? I just always remember this experience. I got a dry socket from a wisdom tooth extraction. It's very painful. Mm-hmm. So the dentist gave me Vicodin, some generic brand of Vicodin, and I think Tylenol 800. Now it happened 2 days later, so I'm on these drugs. 2 days later, and this is in the middle of the worst time I can remember of my menstrual cycle. My period showed up. I didn't feel anything. And I'm like, oh, wow. So you need to take Vicodin and Tylenol 800 to not experience pain with endometriosis. And that's crazy. That's the level of pain that it is.
And that's why people end up on chronic medicines, because they don't realize they can resolve these things. This is an inflammation issue.
Right.
Another great YouTuber, she calls herself the conscious gynecologist.
Okay.
Dr. Salcedo, that's a great channel in terms of women's health.
Okay.
So it's Dr. Salcedo, and she did it's just conscious gynecologist, but I would check out the video on endometriosis, and she'll explain the root cause of endometriosis and why low carb keto carnivore will help resolve that. So we need to do that. And we also need to ask you how you plan to protect your nest. So when it comes to, you've done that diet changes, and my nest and rope talks about other stuff, but what other aspects of health do you plan to focus on over the next year?
Well, okay. So my sleep, I need to get my sleep back in order. When I started carnivore, I was just falling asleep with the kids between 8 and 9 and just sleeping, not even getting out of bed. But I was in the back of my mind feeling bad because I wanted to do my YouTube channel.
Right. You're funny.
Because I needed time to do my YouTube channel. So I figured I'll just do that at night. So, but that's the time I felt like I was eating better, fixing the hormones. I could sleep for years. So many things have changed, and sometimes I even forget about it. I had terrible sleep for years, like super sleep deprived. And so sleeping from between 8 and 9 and 5 or 6 in the morning, I felt amazing. I felt so good. And that's the time that I lost the most weight, actually, is when like last night I got 7 hours of sleep, but I wanted to watch a movie. I don't watch movies so often, but I wanted to watch a movie. I went to sleep at 11:30. I woke up at 7. Basically the same amount of sleep. But I think it's so important that you follow your body's circadian rhythm. And for 1 or 2 months, it was like, you need to go sleep at 8. And so recently I've been forcing myself to stay up, even though I should be sleeping. I don't feel tired, but I felt different then. So in the next year, I'm going to, even other than Tuesday night when I got the cookout, I'm going to try to get back to sleep around 9.
Cool.
And I think that that's so important. And it's another aspect of body health and mental health that we just ignore.
It's a game changer. It's a game changer.
Yeah. And when your body wants you to sleep. Not when you want to sleep, when your body wants you to sleep.
That's right.
So you got to listen to your body sometimes, and not to your addictions.
Right. You better know it. And life will be so much richer by doing that. So I encourage everybody to do that. I'm going to give you an opportunity to wrap up with, obviously reminding people how they can find you, but I want to give you a Jerry Springer moment and let you share any. Yeah. Yeah, that was always one of my favorite. Jerry Springer has his Jerry Springer moment at the end of the show. So any final messages to leave with my audience?
Thanks so much for listening. Dr. Hampton, thanks so much for having me. I think that low carb is a lot easier. Some people are super addicted to these foods that we have in the US or the Western diet. And just know that you can find that pot of gold on the other side of the difficult rainbow to get over. There's going to be a hump at the beginning, but possibly there might be some issues, and you might feel bad at the beginning, but at the other side, you're going to feel better than you felt in years. And you're going to notice these dramatic changes in mood, maybe mental health, physically. And it's just such a better quality of life when you're doing the right things that your body needs, even though we've been hypnotized and programmed into the exact opposite. But just like realize there's a better quality of life, and it's so easy to achieve, and you're going to be so much happier as a result. So try it, and find YouTubers to help you. Like, that's what helped me. Like my what is it called? Support group. Obviously, my husband who's been supporting me, but being here on YouTube, you don't even have to be on YouTube, but find people that have similar stories and just listen to them, find the doctors while you're getting through that hard period, the possible hard period of your addiction withdrawals, because that's what it is.
That's right. Thank you so much. Yeah. And again, you have your YouTube is easy to find. It's just your name. Your name and your face. So make sure you see her face, because I've heard you say there are maybe some other people with the same name.
Yeah.
And I thank you so much for, being here today. I just think hearing those testimonials from people is so important, because people need to understand, what is it that I can do? And maybe I can do it because I have this beautiful person in front of me that reminds me of myself, right? So thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. And again, reminder, guys, we're going to do a live stream. So once you hear this, the live stream will be up on Alia's channel. So check that out as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, guys, listen, it's important that we celebrate people who are trying to help us along our way. I hope this episode, really inspired you, and you just saw a person who's trying to take care of her crew, herself, and she found that dietary changes was the key. I'm grateful that we have people who are messaging the benefits of low carb, keto, and carnivore, because so many people are trying to heal and they're not getting what they need from the conventional medical system. So consider sharing this episode with someone you love who may need that inspiration to heal, inspiration to achieve their health-related goals. So again, I thank you for joining us today for this episode. And until the next episode, continue to be safe, be well, and continue to protect your nest. You've been listening to Protecting Your Nest with Dr. Tony Hampton. For more, visit drtonyhampton.com.